Ed Dyatt said to me a few weeks ago, I'm sure he said, I got a little story. And so I put it down as Ed Dyatt's story, but it's really just one of the members of our family sharing something that's important to him. And so, Ed, come on up. You got to use the microphone here. Anybody can hear. Ed?
Thank you, Cheryl. I didn't announce this as a story. This was occasion that we would like to celebrate, Claire and I, something that was very important in our family history. It's not a story as such with a beginning and an ending, but it remembers a day that was very important. And that was 50 years ago today, the 14th of July, 1969, half a century. Now, I invite you to guess what that would have been. No, the wedding anniversary was 3 years ago. Did you miss it? I guess you'll guess it pretty quickly here, because on that morning, a lovely sunny morning in Belfast, a young couple with a 10-month-old son. Yeah, we were a young couple once. And we're boarding an aircraft, an old Vickers Viscount that was flying us to London, an hour and 20 minutes. Now, we'd done that before. The flying wasn't that big a novelty, but what was a novelty was in London Heathrow, a very hot and muggy day when the air conditioning wasn't working. We were very glad to board an Air Canada DC-8, stretched, as they called it in those days, for the polar flight all the way to Vancouver. And that was a big event for us. The flight itself was very exciting, as you can imagine. In those days, and maybe still today, occasionally the air is very clear over the north. But back then, 50 years ago, it was quite common to have crystal clear air. And we looked down, on the mountains of Greenland and all the rest, and the north, eventually coming into Canada and the Rocky Mountains. It was such a joy. It was such an adventure for us. And on that flight, little 10-month-old baby Sam, some of you may know him here from Sunday school days, got a bit overtired and caused a bit of a fuss on the flight. I did not particularly, but he did. And a nice couple across the aisle from us, newlyweds, also emigrating, came over to help and walked Sammy a little bit up and down the aisle. In those days, they didn't emphasize seatbelts. We even had a sky crib that hung on the rack where the baby was most of the time. The racks were open in those aircranes. They weren't closed, and you could hang a hooked on anything up there, including your baby. Anyway, that couple helped us a lot in that travel that day. Arriving in Vancouver, we were landed immigrants. We had been pre-approved, and we had jobs. I had a job to go to up in Merritt, one of the new high school teachers in Merritt. And that, for a year, was a wonderful experience, but that's another story. It was part of what made adaptation to Canada so smooth, was the people that we met and got to know, small town BC. Anyhow, after spending a night there in Vancouver, I think it was the Skyline Hotel. Does that still exist? It does it? That's where we had our first night. We then went on to Merritt the next day, etc., and the rest is family history. Now, you might think that emigration was easy if you came from Northern Ireland coming to British Columbia. It wasn't like the poor immigrants of today who struggle with all sorts of difficulties. For us, it was easy. We were leaving a peaceful time. The late 60s in Northern Ireland were very peaceful. People were intermarrying and interliving. It was a great time of hope before the evil ones stirred it all up in the end of the 60s. It was just too peaceful for some people's purposes. So we didn't leave to get away from Northern Ireland. We left because we had itchy feet, as we called it. Teachers were very mobile in those days, and we thought, hey, let's go to some of the Commonwealth, we called it in those days particularly, Canada, maybe Australia, New Zealand, other places. Teachers are mobile, so we could do a couple of years in each. A great way to travel the world, a great way to see the different places. We made a tactical error. We came here first. And the rest, again, as they say, is history. Because life went on from that, and a change of job and so on. See what else I was going to add on here. Well, just to finish, celebrating today. So for us, this is a very happy day. And we're celebrating today by just having a lunch after this, meeting up with a couple called Mel and Joan from the Rhondda Valley in Wales. The very couple that emigrated with us on the flight. And we've kept in touch through the years. That's it.
Thank you for that, Ed, and thank you for coming. What a contribution you've made here in Canada, and that you and Claire make to St. Aidan's. So wonderful story of a big life event.